ever see a guy wearing a $50,000 Rolex and immediately know he has no idea what he's doing? Because in a world of watches, money doesn't buy mastery. It exposes your blind spots. But here's the brutal truth. Most people making these mistakes actually think they're doing it right. Even Hollywood stars and billionaire CEOs are out here broadcasting amateur without realizing it. And today, you're going to learn exactly how to avoid it. That guy at the board meeting with the $8,000 Omega, amateur. The collector with 15 Swiss timepieces and a custom winder, also an amateur. Look at enough wrist and you start to see it. There's a massive disconnect between owning a nice watch and understanding how to wear one. Today we're dissecting the 7 mistakes that even wealthy enthusiasts make. I've spent a decade obsessing over timepieces. Not just the movements and heritage, but how they live on a wrist, how they integrate into a life. And I've noticed something. Price has nothing to do with wearing a watch properly. I've seen billionaires with $100,000 Pateks making rookie mistakes that telegraph, I have money, but no taste. Let's break down these unwritten rules that separate the insiders from everyone else. And quick question, after you watch this video all the way through, do you think there's an 8th rule I missed? Drop a yes or no you nailed it in the comments with your suggestions. I actually read every single one. The fastest way to spot someone who bought their first luxury watch last week? An oversized showpiece hanging off their wrist like a dinner plate. Those 45mm monsters that dominated the 2000s have thankfully receded like the hairlines of men who wore them, leaving us with a renewed appreciation for proportional intelligence. Here's what the industry won't tell you. Your ideal watch size has nothing to do with trends and everything to do with your physical proportions. For most men, that sweet spot lives somewhere between 36mm and 42mm. But it's not just diameter. It's about lug-to-lug distance and how the case sits on your unique wrist anatomy. See how this 38mm vintage Tudor perfectly frames the wrist? Now, look at this 44mm behemoth. The lugs literally extend beyond the wrist edge, creating those shadow gaps that screams, I don't know what I'm doing. Even if you nail the size, you can still betray yourself with the next amateur tell. Ever seen someone wearing their watch halfway down their hand? That's not just sloppy. It's amateur hour. Proper watch placement isn't just comfort, it's historical. Military officers wore their watches before the wrist bone for quick time checks without excessive arm movement. That precision placement continues today among those who know. Your timepiece should rest here, 1 finger's width above the wrist bone, not on it, not after it. This positioning does 3 things. It prevents the crown from digging into your hand, lets you check the time with elegance, and signals that you understand the wrist is part of the watch's display. Look at the left side, constantly adjusting, uncomfortable, drawing attention to the watch rather than the wearer. On the right side, confident, comfortable, intentional. Of course, once you've mastered placement, there's another layer to this game. Everyone knows to wear their watch on their non-dominant wrist, right? Your dominant hand performs most tasks, creating higher risk of damage while your non-dominant wrist stays relatively protected. Plus, writing or working with your dominant hand remains unobstructed. While 85% of collectors follow this convention, the most interesting ones don't, and for good reason. Steve McQueen wore his Monaco on his right wrist despite being right-handed. These weren't accidents, they were statements. The truth is, your watch placement should serve your lifestyle, not these arbitrary rules. Creative types often break this convention deliberately, signaling a subtle rebellion against conformity. Here's what matters more than left versus right. Can you check the time naturally during conversation without being obvious about it? The correct wrist for your timepiece, it's the one where the watch feels like an extension of yourself, where you can read it effortlessly and wear it comfortably for hours without adjustment. But none of this matters if you're making the next cardinal sin. If proper placement is about the real estate your watch occupies, proper fit is about how it's anchored to that location. The placement might be perfect, but the security can still betray you. You can wear a $20,000 piece perfectly placed, but if it's flopping around like a charm bracelet, you've just told every collector in the room that you're new here. The perfect fit allows your finger, just one, to slide between the bracelet and your wrist. No more, no less. With your arm hanging naturally, the watch should barely move. Half an inch of play at most. I've seen men with $5,000 suits completely undermined by a loose watch. A properly fitted watch becomes part of you, an extension rather than an attachment. It signals confidence rather than advertising wealth. Speaking of confidence, let's talk about the material mistake that even big collectors make. This section was actually inspired by you, our viewers. It came from the comments in our video, 5 watch facts that aren't actually true, asking about strap formality rules. Huge shout out to you guys. This turned out to be one of our most requested topics. What I'm about to share next completely changed how I view my collection. And fair warning, it might make you reconsider half the watches in your rotation. Every watch strap carries a cultural code, a silent signal where it belongs and where it doesn't. Metal bracelets offer the most versatility, from boardroom to beach, but even they have limits. The Rolex Submariner on a brushed oyster bracelet, perfect with jeans, jarring with a tuxedo. Leather elevates any watch to formal status, with black leather being the most formal, followed by brown, then exotic skins. That NATO strap, strictly casual, no matter what six-figure movement it's attached to. Here's the insider secret. A $500 watch with the right strap for the occasion shows more watch fluency than a $15,000 piece with the wrong one. I'd rather see a Seiko on appropriate leather than a Royal Oak on rubber at a black tie event. But strap material is just the beginning. There's another synchronization that reveals true watch intelligence. Your timepiece doesn't exist in isolation. It's having a constant conversation with everything else you're wearing. This formality spectrum wasn't invented by Instagram influencers. It evolved through decades of cultural coding. In the 1950s and 60s, Patek Philippe and Vacheron Constantin specifically marketed their ultra-thin dress pieces as tuxedo watches. Designed exclusively for black tie affairs, the tool watches from Rolex and Omega were advertised alongside sports cars and aviation equipment, signaling their intended casual environments. These historical distinctions created unwritten rules that still govern watch wearing today. It violates a code established decades before the wearer was born. Dress watches with minimal complications and clean dials, they're speaking to the language of formal occasions. Dive watches and field watches occupy the versatile middle ground of business casual. Chronographs and technical pieces with multiple subdials, they're telling a casual story, no matter the price tag. Ever wonder why some watches just look off, even when the outfit technically checks out? Well, beyond style, there's color theory. Silver-tone watches have a natural affinity with cool colors in your wardrobe. Gold-tone pieces harmonize with warm palettes. The metals visible on your wrist should echo the metals on your belt, your cufflinks, your tie bar. I've seen finance bros wearing offshore chronographs with bespoke suits, thinking the price justifies the pairing. All it communicates is, I have money, but no taste. And finally, the modern dilemma that separates the purist from the pragmatics. Let's address the elephant in the room, smart watches. They're practical yet pervasive, and they're appropriate sometimes. The key is knowing when. Smartwatches belong in casual settings, fitness environments, and tech-forward workplaces. As environments for formality increase, their appropriateness plummets. Traditional watches represent heritage, craftsmanship, and a certain philosophical relationship with time. Smartwatches signal connectivity, utility, and constant availability. In a world where we're always accessible, there's something powerful about wearing a mechanical timepiece that does one thing perfectly rather than 100 things adequately. It's a statement about your relationship with time itself. Even those who should know better mess this up spectacularly. The red carpet has become a showcase of horological blunders, from A-listers wearing oversized vintage pieces that hang like pendulums to tech billionaires pairing dive watches with tuxedos. The watch world notices these mistakes immediately and collectively wince. Why does any of this matter? Because watches aren't just about telling time, they're about telling stories, your story. Studies show we make judgments about attention to detail, self-awareness, and social intelligence within seconds of meeting someone. Your watch, one of the few acceptable pieces of men's jewelry, carries disproportionate weight in that calculation. The difference between amateur and intentional isn't about spending more. It's about understanding the subtle language of horology that's developed over centuries. And here's the twist most watch channels won't tell you. Once you do understand these rules, you can break them deliberately. The collector who wears a G-Shock with a tailored suit, if it's intentional, a statement rather than an oversight, it can be brilliant. The architect who pairs a slim dress watch with jeans and a t-shirt for client meetings, that calculated contrast becomes their signature style. So there it is, the 7 watch rules that separate the collectors from the consumers. Not complicated, but rarely mastered. If this helped you spot hidden mistakes in your watch game, hit subscribe. We've got a lot more coming, including how to build the perfect 3-watch collection regardless of your budget. Drop a comment below and let me know which rule surprised you the most, or if there's a watch rule you deliberately break. I read every comment and your feedback shapes future videos. Before we wrap up, huge shout out to our Patreon community. You're the real MVPs of the Watch Bro. Your support keeps this channel ticking, and we couldn't do these deep dives without you. If you're not part of the club yet, consider joining. You'll get exclusive behind-the-scenes content, monthly giveaways, early access to videos, and direct Q&A sessions with us about your collection. And it starts at just $2 a month. Find the link to our Patreon in the description. This isn't just a channel, it's our collective passion project, a place where the shared appreciation for craftsmanship and heritage brings us all together, regardless of the collection size or experience. Thanks for watching, and remember, the best watch isn't the most expensive one. It's the one worn with intention. Until next time, wear in good health.